Hello! Welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Mondays. I am Jason Hahn, joined with some fellow Screen Rant writers. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. We like to discuss different types of series, and today we are focusing on One Piece, chapter 1045, titled Next Level. But before we dive in, I'm going to go ahead and let my buddies introduce themselves. Francesco, you want to start, man?
Hello everyone, I'm Francesco. I'm a writer for Screen Rant for the comic section, and I usually cover Marvel comics and manga mostly, including our beloved One Piece, which we are going to discuss today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great chapter, and I'm very excited to talk about it. But Ben, welcome.
I'm Ben. I also write for the comic section of Screen Rant, mainly about manga and DC and Marvel. This chapter is very hype, so let's just dive into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and start with. Normally, we would talk about the cover page, but we didn't get a cover page to continue our Whole Cake Island story today. Which was kind of wild. It was one of those things where I was rereading and then I noticed just fit between a couple frames, chapter 1045, next level, and I'm like, what's going on Whole Cake? We're waiting for those Blackbeard pirates to show up.
Yeah, but as a trade-off, we got this beautiful 2-page color spread and
Which 5 years from now we will find out that there was some hidden hint from Oda here that Luffy's next transformation, 5-6 years from now, was actually featured in this double colored page here.
Right.
But beautiful cover still. So you're right, Ben.
Yeah, note that Robin's holding the hat, with her arms. Maybe that means that Robin actually knows the true secret of everything that is there, and Oda's, just laying the groundwork.
Yeah, and Frankie's looking inside the hat. Maybe there's something that's been hidden inside the hat the whole time.
He looks pretty shocked.
Nami's wearing a shirt, which is just different. We usually get more skin, so that's nice that she has discovered some clothing. Maybe Zoro will turn into a dog. But
the dog does have green hair.
Yeah. Well, we could speculate on that for a whole nother hour. But this chapter was nuts. It was one of the first times that, in a long time, it feels like, where everything was focused on Luffy versus Kaido. We usually get a couple little chapters of something else. Like previously we had Hiyori dealing with Orochi, and it's just everything else has been settled except for Luffy versus Kaido, and I'm so glad that we just got the main focus on this chapter. And oh boy, was it a treat. I just, the one thing that gave me the most chills, it's jumping ahead on the chapter a little bit, but Luffy powering up one final time and bringing up Pedro's name just really shook me. I just got chills just talking about it, because it just a callback to so long ago, and just, everything kind of was starting, everything leading up from Punk Hazard to here to Zoe to everything. It's all leading up to this moment, and that's Luffy kind of acknowledging the people they've lost to get here, which is just a wonderful way to accentuate the stakes that we are, that we're facing. And it's kind of all up to Luffy right now, because everyone is not doing well. Their eyes are flying out of their heads, and no one knows what to do with that. What were some stuff that stuck out for you guys in this chapter?
Well, for me, it was the whole silliness of it. I guess we understand now what the people, I think it was the Five Elders, meant when they said this is the most ridiculous power in the world. Because it's basically turning not just everything, but everyone into cartoons. Because that's what it's all about. It's not about rubber; it's about being a cartoon. And it's very interesting that this seems to be the only awakened fruit that works not just on things but people. I'm sure someone will correct me, and that isn't true. But I mean, even Kaido says it at the beginning of the chapter when Luffy inflates inside of him. He says, "Your body is meant to be rubbery, not mine." And we see time and time again. I mean, for example, when Luffy pops his arms out of Kaido's eyes, which
didn't love that.
And I guess then even the final punch that Luffy that goes straight through Kaido's head.
Yeah,
which it's not. I mean, I don't understand what's going on, but I guess it's also meant to be like sort of like cartoonish, because the next panel Kaido is well, he's not fine because he felt the punch, but his face doesn't have a hole in it. I guess that's what the whole thing is about. I mean, just that these powers can affect anything and anyone around Luffy, so that gives him obviously a huge edge. But personally speaking, I don't really like the tone of the fight. I mean, it's way too cartoonish.
Yeah, I totally get. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I get that sentiment here, but I actually am of the complete opposite opinion, and I think that's part of why these chapters have been generating so much discussion is because like it's a big tonal shift. And especially given like how bleak the rest of this raid has been leading up to this. Yeah. But I just think this fits One Piece so well. Because the series like especially this arc too, where like there's so many people suffering from like fake laughter in this arc and and just being completely oppressed, and Luffy's coming to free the people, and he's doing it with joy, and like it feels to me almost like refreshing after the bleakness of the raid leading up to this. So like I've been really enjoying it, and also like this is the sort of thing that can only really happen in One Piece. Like I can't really picture any other manga doing this sort of thing and like having it fit the characters and fit the art style and things like that. Like, so it's very. I'm just having a blast with it because this is like pure distilled One Piece for me, even if it's a big tonal shift.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you on that. Previously, we've gotten very like silly panels where it's gotten very overly cartooned, like people's eyes popping out, or like specifically, I think of the moment when Usopp ate the spicy ball and at Dressrosa, like that was just so crazy and over the top, but it fit the scene. But that was just like one or two panels here and there. We're getting almost, half the panels dedicated to this chapter to being really cartoony. And I almost don't think it would have worked in any other arc other than this one for me, because I actually didn't think of that. Everyone is being forced to smile on Wano, who ate the fruits, and Luffy is the opposite countermeasure of that. And it just without the misery that everything is happening in Wano, this is the perfect foil or solution to that, in my opinion. Just everything feels so dark and drab at this point in Wano that this just feels refreshing. If something similar had happened like in Dressrosa, like if it was just all like cartoony near the end, I would have been like, oh, this is kind of silly, but it just fits so much more in here because it is the shiny, bright laughter in the oppressive, horrible place. But yeah, back what you're talking about on the punch through Kaido's head. When I was first reading that, I stared at that panel for a good 2 minutes. I'm like, I see Luffy's fist almost looks like it's blood. Like I was like, is this the end of the fight? Like,
Yeah.
like it looks like, because Kaido is saying like the perfect evil bad guy words before the end, before he gets hit with the final punch that knocks him out. There is no one in this world who can defeat me. Bam! That's the end. Like, what if this is the end of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, nothing's for certain at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I was,
Silliest move ever.
yeah. I'm very interested.
Doesn't even have a name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gum gum flaily limbs around.
Yeah.
And,
It reminds me of that that episode of The Simpsons when Bart and Lisa go like, "Oh, I'll just move my arms around, and then if I hit you, you remember that?
Yeah,
oh, and then
or
I
the
just
kneeling
walk
down.
by kicking my legs out, and then if you're in the way."
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same technique. Yeah.
but I'm incredibly curious to see how they animate all this, because
Oh yeah.
I mean, other than the like toon eyes,
but-
everything, I just think he's rubberizing everything he hits. So I'm imagining like when we get that animation of Luffy punching Kaido through the head, it's going to make that Looney Tunes like stretchy, like sound
Yeah.
effect.
I have a good segue to that because actually, I've seen some speculation online that there could be a connection with everyone's favorite song, being Sake.
Yes.
Oh yeah. With
Yeah.
what Luffy says.
It's with what Luffy says when he says,
Callback, yeah.
"When you're dead, only your bones stick around," which is a line from the song. So people are saying that the drums of liberation actually follow the tune of the song, right?
Yeah.
So that sound, that doom do da da, that we can only read, obviously, in the manga, because we don't have devil fruit power, so we cannot hear,
Yes.
we cannot hear sounds from drawings. So when they animate that, obviously they will have to some sound effects, right? So
Yeah.
maybe that will sound like. I mean, Oda is involved in the anime. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's saying, "Okay, guys, so this is how it's supposed to sound like," then because the song also basically repeated the name of the final island right before it was revealed, because the song actually goes Last Tale at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, could be.
And- A lot of people have also theorized that song is like tied to the One Piece itself.
Yeah.
Like, which would explain the laughter upon seeing the final treasure. It turns out it's like a song or a cup of sake or something like that.
No, about that, Oda said that's an actual treasure. Like he said that he answered to.
Yeah, but a song can still be an actual treasure. It's just like I think he was more saying it's not going to be something like you get to the island and there's nothing there, and it turns out the One Piece is actually the gift of friendship that we made along the way. But
I'm glad somebody found Oda and asked him that, because if we're still like, well, it's probably just the friends you made along the way, and he's like, no, definitively it's not. It's going to be something really cool. And we're like, oh, okay, we trust you. But I absolutely, I've seen those theories too, and I think they're brilliant. That people have like dissected the lyrics of Bink Sake and been able to correlate to many of the things that have happened in the series already and are leading up to it. And yeah, I think once I almost wonder if Brook gets close enough to Luffy, because I mean he has no eyes because he's a skeleton. Ha 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 ha. Bone joke. But we don't get Brook's reaction. I don't actually know where Brook even is on the island right now. But Luffy's always wanted he wanted a musician on the crew before they had a navigator, before they had a cook, before they had anybody. And now that Luffy has sort of unlocked this musical heartbeat, I'm very anxious to hear Brook's take on it. I wonder if it'll like unlock a memory for him or something. But kind of back to a couple panels that really stuck out for me on here. You brought up previously the Luffy reaching through his eyes panel, and that really gave me the heebie-jeebies. I didn't love that. And again, I'm like just thinking how that's going to be animated, and I'm not looking forward to that part being animated. But
well, it's funny. I actually wrote an article on that panel just because it's just so disturbing and like. It's funny because a lot of Luffy's Joy Boy powers have been sort of played like for comedic effect, like they're very whimsical and things like that. But also, Oda's here reminding us that if these sorts of cartoonish powers existed in real life, you could do some messed up stuff with them. Like he's leading into some body horror here as well as some comedy.
I did see a Reddit post of like Oda is secretly an awful body horror mangaka, and they referenced a bunch of panels of that, and it's like Perona's eyes exploding during Usopp's battle and all that kind of stuff. He's really good at it when he wants to do it.
and even like Luffy aging, after the effect wearing off, that's also kind of horrific.
Oh, absolutely. We almost got the like Luffy at 10, Luffy at 15, Luffy at 60. Like, but yeah, you're about to say something, Francesco?
I was gonna say that. I think Oda did a good job in not making this fight like every other fight that we see in manga, right? Because you would expect after this huge power up for just Luffy to have the upper end, right? Yeah. And that doesn't happen. Like actually, every time he tries to do something, Kaido is just beating the. Can I say crap?
Yes. Crap is
right. Yeah. So Luffy turns into a giant, which is pretty cool, right?
Very. That's actually the page I have it up on right now. It makes me smile every time I look at it.
And tells us there's basically no limit to what he can do, right? So it's not about rubber anymore. It's just I can do whatever I want with my body and with anyone else's body. So that's it.
Yeah.
And immediately after that, Kaido bites him in the neck.
Yeah.
Then Luffy goes for the awesome jump rope technique.
Gum jump rope. We finally got it.
Oh, I also love that he keeps calling the moves gum. Well, obviously because he doesn't know what's going on. But
right.
So that was really fun. So, and immediately after, Kaido goes with a close range borrow breath on him. And again, Luffy charges back at him and Kaido just smashes his head through the roof. So everything Luffy's trying to do, Kaido's just beating him. Yeah. That's how we get to the moment when he powers down, then he powers up again. But that, until the very end, when we have that crazy, I don't know how to describe that panel with Luffy's head becoming, taking the shape of Kaido's mate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Kaido all over this whole chapter. Until the very last moment when Luffy literally punches his head in. But yeah, so you wouldn't expect that normally, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was interesting.
And it's crazy because any other manga, this would have been 3 chapters. Or you could have turned it into 3 chapters, right? Yeah. Just like every time Kaido gets the upper hand, I'm at the cliffhanger for the next chapter, And and this is just so fast paced, like things happen so quickly, the tide of battle shifts so much. It's just like it's a treat to read, and I think that probably goes to some amount of the way in providing evidence that like this fight is almost over, right? Like, if Oda wanted to drag out this fight, he easily could have, but he's
took a knee for the first time.
Yeah, right. Which is exciting, given like how indestructible and powerful Kaido's been.
Yeah, he's definitely the moral winner of this. Like he took everyone and everything.
Oh yeah. the amount of attacks he has taken and the amount of strong people he's fought, like, we could go down the list, but we don't have an hour to talk about it. But I mean, I've got that final panel zoomed up of Kaido on the ground, and it's checking all those boxes that we need for Luffy beating somebody. Like, their eyes are whited out, they're on their back. Luffy's looking as epic as possible, and I'm wondering if he'll get back up, because
I think we have to.
We
still have to see a lot. I think we still have to see a lot. I mean, we will get, maybe that it's the time that we get the infamous flashback. But I think this fight is still going on, and we still don't know much about Luffy's powers. Like, Kaido says, what's going on? This is similar to the awakening of Paramecia fruit, which I think we saw Kid, Law, and Doflamingo do it, right? So that checks the boxes. But then he said, but he's transforming, so that's a zone type. So we definitely have to learn more about that.
Yes.
So I think this will go on.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually kind of one of my favorite aspects of this chapter was, I mean, we're getting a lot of Kaido's perspective through this. We're getting what's going through Kaido's brain of like, this is weird. This isn't how it should be going. And it was kind of finally the definitive thing for me, because I know last discussion, if you haven't checked it out, check out our discussion of 1044. But in that, I was like, okay, so is Luffy like really toonizing everything? Or is he just kind of leveled up his rubber powers to a point where it's just, I mean, say if you have a rubber band, it's, it holds its buoyancy and stuff, but if you melt it and it starts to get a lot more almost plasticky, like anything you throw at it, it just bends to it and stuff like that. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from Luffy's powers, especially when he was hitting the back of the head with one of Kaido's full power club attacks. And we are just referenced with, the spike coming out of Luffy's nose, but his nose actually being the spike still. And I'm really enjoying that Luffy's still like, ow, 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 this hurts. Like, it's not just 100% Luffy being like, ha, 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 I'm undefeatable. This is a easy power. I win all the time now. Like, Luffy is taking damage. And it was that final, or it was that line of, once Luffy gets his head bashed through the Skull Dome and then comes back up, and Kaido legitimately says it's something from a comic strip. Like, and I'm like, okay, Luffy is legitimately like casting these powers to everybody, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, that those panels of everyone's eyes bugging out, is that just same thing? Like, is that Luffy's powers?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's almost like, does it affect everybody within his close proximity, or is it people that he is just emotionally close to?
Or maybe they're leaking out. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, there is some evidence for the people that he's close to, because when he first, his head first slams into the Skull Dome, there are a bunch of Kaido's minions down there, and they all look at him. Their eyes are bulging, but they're not like, popping out of their heads, right? And then we see, Law and Kid and like Chopper and Nami and stuff. We see their eyes actually popping out. So that could lead to, it's like, Luffy has to have some sort of connection to them in order to rubberize them.
Which, if true, then that possibly leaves the potential for him to be able to almost power up his entire Straw Hat fleet if they needed to. Like, I'm wondering if he can almost give them his powers, or a smaller version of it temporarily, kind of as a boost.
That would be crazy. That would be wild.
I'm kind of the reaction of those of Kid, Law, and everyone's eyes popping out. I mean, I was just like, oh, that's silly, but that's almost so silly that there's got to be a real like reason for it, and I kind of feel like that might be the hint there. I think we'll eventually see Luffy powering up everyone around him, and this chapter is so good, guys.
Oh yeah, like it keeps hitting it out of the park. Like,
and wild. No break next week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Well, I mean, we say no break next week, but you remember the last time we had no break next week, it turned out that that was the chapter where Luffy's head started melting, and then it was on break. So maybe we'll look back and we'll be like,
up worse.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like, man, I wish we had the break on the week that Luffy knocked Kaido out.
Yeah. The one thing I think was missing from this, but they could still do it, is as much as I love the panel of giant Luffy descending from the clouds to stomp onto Kaido, and Francesco, you already brought up the bit I was going to bring up too, is that Kaido is still like, in charge of a lot of this. Like any other manga, Luffy descending and being so much bigger than Kaido in the panel, then that would result in Kaido being hit with some massive attack. But One Piece decided to have Kaido instantly take a huge bite out of Luffy, and One Piece was like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and use that to set up an even cooler attack with the Gum Gum jump rope. And I actually really like the panel after the jump rope where it zooms out of the Sky Dome, and it gave me a Lord of the Rings Gandalf versus the Balrog vibe of them like descending down the cave, and that long shot. Luffy is jump roping with Kaido as they're like falling towards the dome, and it's just so cool. But back to my point, the only way that I thought was missing was Luffy coming out of the clouds as a giant. If we got the perspective of the people in the Flower Capital seeing that. I know it's still a little too early they don't even know the island is getting dangerously close to them, so I get it. But I think it'd be really interesting if we almost did like a 5 minutes earlier, and then that's when the people on the Flower Capital notice the island and Kaido, and they're terrified and afraid. And then as soon as they think they're about to die and give up hope, the clouds part, and this giant smiling god descends and pretty much spanks their oppressor in front of all of them. Like, man, it's almost too good not to do. So I'm very, if that's not what they're going to do, Oda must have other plans for revealing the conflict to the people of Wano right now, because it would be very anticlimactic if everything gets resolved and then they just go to the people of Wano and they're like, hey, by the way, this all happened. We're free now. Oh, cool. Yeah. Like we need their reaction to everything that's going on is something that I'm really missing. And I'm hoping that it's all just saving that payoff for something bigger.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be like some sort of instance where the people see Luffy, sort of like how the people on Jaya saw Luffy shadowed in the clouds and stuff. Yeah. There's got to be something like that eventually. But I actually really like what Oda did with the giant Luffy panel, because I think it wasn't meant to be for like them. I think it was meant to be for us, because if you look at it, it goes beyond one page, right? Luffy's too big just for one page now, and like I think that's really like a signal to the reader where it's like this guy's powers are now like going beyond what we even thought, and it was just I think it's really cool like for us to read, even though it also would have been great if the people below had seen it, but then it might have lessened the impact on the reader, I think. But
well, it definitely would have, like, at any point in this chapter, if they had, hey, let's go see what the people of Wano are doing, like, it definitely would have taken the steam out of the chapter, I think. But I think that's just one perspective that I'm very anxious to see, because I know the people in the Flower Capital are having a decent time, but just to see like the happiness and the real smiles of people who have been in a living hell for the past 20 years. Very, very anxious to see And I almost wonder if that's going to give Luffy a power up too, because there's that idea we were throwing around last chapter is if Luffy is powered up from people's positive energy or their smiles. But I really think, especially this chapter, I mean, we got to see Luffy losing all of his strength and then willing his heart to come back, or the heartbeat to start up again, is giving me more fuel to think that this could be the end, or at least very close to it, because Luffy's got nothing left. He's had nothing left maybe 3 different times, and then Swamp Guy magically made the save and gave him food, and that healed him, and now we're back to, this is round 3 or 4 for Luffy against Kaido, and he just needs to win one. Yeah, well, that's what were some other things about this chapter that stuck out for you guys, or anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, well, everyone knows, but we got the first glimpse of what the celebrations for the 25th anniversary of One Piece will be, which is coming up this summer. So we got a new logo, which is amazing, I think, because it's the it's a theme when Shanks gives Luffy his hat, which is awesome. And the going back to the color cover page for this chapter, I think they have like some tracks going on all over Japan with the One Piece tracks, and then if they pop up where you live, you can win prizes or whatever, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, and I did see pictures of those One Piece trucks driving around. Yeah. They have like the Thousand Sunny headpiece on the hood, and is that what this cover, or is that the picture that they used?
Yeah, that's what the cover is about. Yeah. And so this is awesome. Like, this is gonna be a big year for One Piece, right?
Yeah.
And also, it's not relating to this chapter strictly, but I'm very hyped for the movie, for One Piece Red.
Oh yeah, Shanks.
Yeah, we've been getting everyone's new character designs or costume designs, and that's. I hope everyone has some paper towels, because the drip is insane on a lot of.
And
those.
I'm sure our tiers will also appreciate having paper towels there to wipe up.
Absolutely. We're going to be out of paper towels by the end of this Wano arc, probably, because going to have a lot of tears and emotions going. So,
But also, in news related to One Piece, like outside the story itself, like it outsold Batman recently. I'm pretty sure it's the like #1 best-selling comic of all time.
I wrote. Not the best-selling comic, because I've wrote an article on this, so it's hard to compare manga with American comic books, because usually for manga they take just chapter sales, just volume sales. Okay, so they don't, for example, they don't factor in how many copies of Weekly Shonen Jump with One Piece in it were sold, right?
Okay, makes sense.
So it's tricky to make the comparison, but still, One Piece, outsold at least Batman, not Superman yet, but at least Batman. However, I also saw a tweet at some point during the week saying that the cover for the upcoming volume, I think, it's volume 102.
Oh, wow.
I think that the cover actually does not acknowledge that they went over the 500 million sales. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I don't know if we've been reporting the wrong news or whatever. But,
or maybe they just don't care,
Yeah, I saw this tweet that the cover of volume 100 and 102 doesn't say that they went over the 500 million copies yet. So yeah. But anyways, that's
103 still... probably will.
Oh yeah, but that's still like one of the only 2 literary works in history to achieve that. The other being Harry Potter.
Wow.
So yeah, this is we're not just talking about a manga, guys. This
No.
it's probably the most important manga ever. At least
And
least in terms of number, in terms of numbers.
Our most successful,
Yeah.
And it's just poised to get bigger in the West. I mean, regardless of how well the Netflix live action series does, that's definitely going to get a lot more eyes on the series.
Hopefully for the better. I have hope.
I mean, hopefully. I don't have the most faith in a live action adaptation of something like this, just because the art style is so hard to transfer.
Yeah.
Oh, especially now. Imagine it's a hit. And it gets to this part. Like, how are you going to live action Luffy Gear 5 against Kaido?
We've seen it with the Fantastic Four movies, which were terrible for many reasons, right? One of the reasons is that Mr. Fantastic powers, they don't work on live action. They look too silly and too weird.
Yeah, and that's why, like, with the Miss Marvel show coming out on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
like, that's probably one of the reasons why they're not giving her powers in the comimics.
It's
too tough.
I'm really glad. I was going to bring that up.
They're giving her other powers.
I'll go over it. I personally was very excited for the Miss Marvel trailer because of the live action One Piece. I'm very, very curious how they're going to make Luffy's powers look realistic but fun and impactful in the same way that the One Piece series does, and I really don't know how they're going to be able to do it. Like, it's just a big question mark in my brain. Even in my cinematic part of my brain, I'm wondering how would film or CGI something like that. And so when the first trailer for the Miss Marvel series came out a week or two ago, I was anxiously awaiting just the little glimpse of her rubbery powers, but they're giving her like a cosmic wristband.
So it's like the classic Captain Marvel powers.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm. You guys are definitely more familiar with those than I am, but
the Mega Bands.
Yeah, it's basically that. Like, she can do energy constructs and shielding and stuff like that.
So she'll eventually have like a big cosmic magical looking hand come out rather than rubbery.
So it's the quantum bands. Okay.
Yeah, or at least I think so. I'm not too familiar with like the terminology exactly on the different bands and Marvels.
The Mega Bands were originally used by Captain Marvel of the Kree race, while the Quantum Bands were used by Quasar, another totally unrelated Marvel.
I think they're probably like folding some together, because I feel like they're going to have this be Kree technology, but like... Yeah. But then we're getting off topic.
On a more serious note, I don't understand why they want to do a live action One Piece. I mean, certain things are just not made to be real, right? You have all these mangas that you can adapt, like they did with Death Note, and you have so many other manga that are not too cartoonish. We go back to the theme of this chapter. Like, One Piece is there's people jumping 50 meters in the air and slicing buildings with swords, and a guy made of rubber and all this weird stuff. Why do you think that this is gonna work? I mean,
and even the more down to earth stuff too, like Zoro's sword fighting technique. He fights with a sword in his mouth. Like, how are
they gonna do it?
Right, and there's plenty of times where Zoro is talking and monologuing while he has a sword in his mouth. There's no way you can do that with a live action. But the answer, I mean, we kind of brought it up earlier in the manga, or early in the podcast. It's one of the highest, it's the most successful story brought to pages around the world right now. I thought a few months ago I had actually read that I thought One Piece had surpassed Superman, but not Batman. Does Superman sell more than Batman right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, One Piece is getting up there where it's able to rival the biggest names in entertainment. And I think it's only going to be getting bigger as I agree with you guys, because this isn't even the final arc yet. Like we're getting to the final chunks of One Piece, and it's already a worldwide sensation. It's going to be getting more and more popular. Even with all those people online complaining that it's too silly and too cartoony, I don't think they're going to stop reading. They just like to complain. But
why did it? Just came to my mind. They made Saint Seiya live action.
They did?
Why? Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I don't know. I'm not sure if they made it already or they are in the process of doing it. But yes, the answer is yes. And again,
we're also getting live action Yu Yu Hakusho on Netflix. They're making.
But you know what? That might just work because that's very. Even the fights in that manga, they are very gritty. Very. I mean, they're not super crazy, right? Most of the time, they're just punching each other in the face. Then they have they ghost powers or whatever. But that might just work, you know?
Yeah, I'm just kind of shocked because it's like over 20 years old now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like such a weird property to revive and be like, you know what we're going to give a live action? We're going to give Yu Yu Hakusho a live action.
Well, I don't know, man. In my circles of friends, like, that's one of the best. Like,
it's great. I'm not saying...
Anime-wise, I mean, there's still an audience for it, for sure.
Yeah, I always wondered what happened in the very final arc that they were teasing. They were hyping up that the tournament to decide the next King of Hell, whatever, and then the next chapter, okay, it's over, guys. Did he get sick or something? Did he get cancelled? Or I don't know.
I think what happened.
Togashi, the mangaka, was suffering from like major like health issues and like anxiety problems, and like that's sort of plaguing Hunter x Hunter now, which is his follow-up series. But I really hope they don't get to that point because then they'll probably distract Togashi from Hunter x Hunter by asking him about what happened at the end of.
I have zero hopes for that. I have zero.
I think Hunter x Hunter is just done. I don't think we'll ever have that resolved.
I'm still holding out hope,
Yeah.
Maybe he's just taking some time. Maybe he sees what happened to Miura and he's like, I want to make sure I get this done.
I will. I'll tell you what I held hope for like 20 years, and that's also my. This will work as my final, my closing up recommendation for this episode, right?
Okay.
A manga called Bastard. I don't know if you.
Oh, I've heard of that.
No, I haven't heard
by
of it.
a guy called Kazushi Hagiwara, and it started as your classic 80s fantasy story with a lot of heavy metal tones and references. Then it slowly evolved into something super weird with angels and devils and whatever. And I've been waiting for the next volume for 20 years now.
Oh, no. That sounds a lot like Berserk.
But like last week or 2 weeks ago, they announced a Netflix anime adaptation because they did an anime years ago for just the first part of the manga. And now they are redoing it for Netflix, which is... Okay, it's good, but I would like to know how the story is going.
Maybe this will invigorate the author to be like, okay, I gotta get this chapter.
Your hopes aren't high on that one, Francesco.
Yeah. So, but this is my suggestion for our listeners. If you like fantasy and especially classic fantasy manga, you're gonna enjoy Bastard. There is also a lot of nudity and one of the best, coolest main characters in the history of manga. So I highly recommend it.
And he is a nudist.
No, he's often naked.
I haven't checked that out. I don't know if he is actually a nudist. It's just joking. But yeah, that sounds cool. Check out Bastard. And I Ben, did you have anything you wanted to recommend, man?
Yeah, I guess not in terms of unfinished series or series that have gone on, but this series kind of went on a hiatus and is coming back. Chainsaw Man apparently is coming back with a 200-page one-shot. So now's a perfect time to get into the series if you've heard of it, but we're waiting for it to come back. It's a really good one, really fun. Does things that a lot of manga does not do nowadays, which is exciting. So
yeah, that was actually one of the last mangas that it was recommended to me, so I started reading it, and I started reading it during one of my last jobs where I had a lot of time on the road, and I breezed through that series in maybe about 2 weeks. I couldn't put it down, and I didn't hear that news that we're getting a 200-page one-shot. Is that like the sequel that they've been talking about since the series ended?
I just heard about it today.
Oh boy!
So I don't know the most. I just saw like a Twitter thing saying it. So
exciting.
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but yeah, it's exciting if it's true.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap things up. You've been listening to Mega Manga Mondays. It was a lot of fun talking about One Piece chapter 1045 with you guys, and I'll be very curious to see if the fight is ended in the next chapter. We didn't exactly have time to voice what we were hoping happens next, but we'll be talking about it next week because we got no break, and I'm very excited about it. But check out our other discussions on Mega Manga Mondays podcast. Should be able to find us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I also do a YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. I used to do a lot of Let's Play videos and streams and stuff like that. If you're into video games and funny stuff, definitely worth checking out. I think that'll about wrap up this discussion. Any final lines you guys want to throw out?
No.
All right.
Just looking forward to the next one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your time, guys, and you have a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.
See y'all next time.
That's all, folks.